The alien vampire woman told me she was my wife, but I had never seen her before. For a long moment he did not move. His body felt heavy, as if gravity itself had increased while he slept. When he finally tried to sit up, a sharp pain ran through his head, and he let out a slow breath instead. He was human, that much he knew. His name was Elias Ward, a long-range traveler registered under the Terran Exploration Union. His memories before the accident were clear enough: survey routes, empty systems, quiet days spent watching stars drift by. But the last mission felt broken, like a recording that ended too soon. There was fire, alarms, and then nothing. A soft voice spoke near him. "He is awake!" Elias turned his head. A med drone hovered nearby, its lights adjusting as it scanned him again. Beyond it stood two station medics, both alien, both wearing the blue-white crest of a neutral station. They watched him with careful interest, as if he were something fragile and dangerous at the same time. "Easy," one of them said in slow, clear galactic standard. "You are safe. You are aboard Station Kepri. You were recovered from a damaged human vessel at the edge of neutral space." Elias nodded slightly. "How long was I out?" 6 days, the medic replied. "Your survival chances were low." Elias almost smiled at that. Humans had been hearing that sentence for centuries. Before he could ask another question, the room changed. The lights dimmed just a little. The medics stiffened, their posture shifting from calm professionals to nervous observers. One of them glanced toward the door. Elias followed their gaze. The door slid open without a sound. She walked in like she owned the station. She was tall, taller than most humans, with skin pale enough to seem carved from moonlight. Her hair was long and dark, flowing freely down her back, untouched by station regulation. Her eyes were the color of deep red stars, steady and unblinking. She wore no armor, no visible weapons, only a long black garment marked with symbols Elias did not recognize. Yet every instinct in his body screamed danger. The room felt colder, though no system warning appeared. Even the med drone pulled slightly back, as if unsure whether it was allowed to exist in her presence. The alien woman stopped beside his bed and looked down at him. Her expression was calm but not empty. There was something heavy in her gaze, relief perhaps mixed with restraint. "You live," she said. Her voice was smooth, controlled, and ancient. It carried authority without needing volume. Elias swallowed. "Do I know you?" The question seemed to ripple through the room. One of the medics visibly flinched. The woman did not react at first. She simply studied his face, as if searching for something she already knew would not be there. Then she spoke again, her tone unchanged. "I am Lady Sarilith of the Nocthar Dominion," she said. "By blood, by law, and by bond, I am your wife." The words landed like a physical blow. Elias stared at her. He waited for laughter, for someone to say it was a misunderstanding, a translation error, anything. Nothing happened. "That's not possible," he said finally. "I've never seen you before." The medics exchanged looks filled with fear and confusion. Sarilith's eyes did not leave him. "I know." Station security arrived within minutes. Armed guards took positions near the walls, careful not to point their weapons directly at her. Elias was still trying to process what was happening when a station official rushed in, holding a data slate with shaking hands. "Lady Sarilith," the official said respectfully, "your presence was not announced." "You would not have refused me," she replied calmly. The official swallowed. "No, my lady." The official turned to Elias. "Sir, there are records, ancient ones, sealed ones." "They confirm her claim." Elias felt his stomach twist. "Confirm what claim?" "That you are legally bonded to her under Dominion and multi-species treaty law." Elias let out a quiet, disbelieving laugh. "I'm human, she's whatever she is. That doesn't even make biological sense." Sarilith finally looked away from him, just slightly, as if acknowledging the room. "My species is often called vampire by lesser civilizations," she said. "It is an inaccurate simplification." That did not help. "Look," Elias said, trying to stay calm, "I don't remember agreeing to anything like this. I don't remember her. I don't remember leaving human space long enough for something like that to happen." "That is because your memories were taken," Sarilith said. Silence fell. Elias stared at her. "Taken by who?" "By you," she answered. He shook his head. "That's not funny." "I am incapable of humor in matters of law and blood," she said, "and I am incapable of falsehood." The official's hands trembled as he scrolled through the slate. "It's true," he said quietly. "Her species, they cannot lie. Every recorded interaction confirms it." Elias leaned back against the bed, his pulse racing. "So let me get this straight. I somehow married an ancient alien noble, erased my own memories, and everyone else in the galaxy just accepted it. Yes, Sarilith said, because the alternative was war. That word hit harder than anything else so far. War, Elias repeated. Total, she replied. Unending. Across 13 systems. Elias looked at the medics, at the guards, at the official. No one contradicted her. Why me? He asked quietly. Sarilith's expression changed then, just a little, something softened. Because you are human, she said. And humans do what no other species does. You choose the impossible and then survive it. Before Elias could ask what that meant, alarms echoed faintly through the station. Not emergency alarms, but alert tones. The official stiffened. What now? Elias asked. The official swallowed. Multiple foreign vessels have entered near orbit, Dominion rivals, treaty observers, and human diplomatic ships. Sarilith's gaze sharpened. They sensed your awakening. Elias looked at her. Why does that matter? Because while you lived and slept, the bond remained dormant, she said. Now it stirs. He rubbed his face, overwhelmed. I don't even know what that means. It means, she said, stepping closer to his bed, that the galaxy will soon remember why humanity was never meant to be insignificant. Her words sent a strange chill through him, not fear, but something else. A sense of weight, of responsibility. He looked up at her. If I really agreed to this, if I really erased my memories, then I must have had a reason. Yes, she said. Are you going to tell me what it was? Sarilith met his eyes, red meeting human brown. When you are ready, she said. Not before. Outside the station, ships gathered. Old enemies watched. Allies whispered. Ancient powers shifted their attention toward one human who had woken up without knowing he had already changed the galaxy once. And this time he was awake. The station no longer felt neutral. From the moment Elias woke fully, everything changed. Hallways that once echoed with normal traffic grew quiet when he passed. Security patrols doubled. Doors sealed and unsealed with new authorization codes. Every species aboard Station Kepri seemed to know one thing. Something dangerous and important was happening, and a human was at the center of it. Elias sat in a private medical chamber now, no longer a public ward. The room was comfortable but clearly guarded. 2 station guards stood outside the transparent barrier, pretending not to watch him every second. Sarilith stood near the wide viewport, looking out at the stars. More ships had arrived since his awakening. Massive shapes drifted in slow orbit, sleek Dominion vessels, sharp-edged rival cruisers, and familiar human diplomatic craft painted white and blue. You're popular, Elias said quietly. Sarilith turned her head slightly. You always were, he frowned. You keep saying things like that. She stepped closer but stopped a respectful distance away. Your people underestimate how noticeable humans are, she said. You enter places quietly, but you change them simply by being present. Elias leaned back in his chair. That sounds flattering and terrifying. She did not disagree. A human diplomat arrived soon after. Ambassador Helen Ruiz was older, her hair gray, her eyes sharp with years of negotiation. When she entered the room and saw Sarilith, her posture stiffened, but she did not reach for any weapon. That alone said a lot. Elias Ward, Helen said gently, it's good to see you alive. Apparently I'm very hard to kill, he replied. Helen smiled faintly, then glanced at Sarilith. Lady Sarilith? Ambassador Ruiz, Sarilith replied. Human leadership has changed since last we spoke. You haven't, Helen said carefully. Sarilith's lips curved just slightly. Some things endure. Helen turned back to Elias and placed a data tablet in his hands. We're going to tell you what we can. There are limits, not because we want to hide things, but because some truths can cause reactions. Elias raised an eyebrow. I'm already married to an alien vampire queen I don't remember. How much worse can it get? Sarilith met Helen's gaze. Do not answer that lightly, Helen sighed. Fair point. She activated the tablet. Images appeared, star maps, old mission logs, sealed Terran files marked with high-level clearance. Elias recognized his ship's name on one of them. This mission, Helen said, was never supposed to involve the Nocthar Dominion. You were sent to investigate a dead system. No life signs, no strategic value. Elias nodded slowly. That matches what I remember. You were wrong, Sarilith said calmly. Helen continued. The system wasn't dead, it was hidden. Ancient technology masked it from scans. The Nocthar used it as a border sanctuary. Elias looked up. So I crossed into vampire territory by accident. Yes, Helen said, and you survived first contact. That's not normal, is it? No, Helen said, their species does not allow witnesses. Sarilith folded her hands. They intended to kill you, she said. I overruled them. Elias looked at her. Why? Because you spoke, she answered. Not to beg, not to threaten, you asked questions. Helen nodded. That detail appears in every report. You didn't act like prey. Elias tried to picture himself doing that. He couldn't. But something deep inside him felt familiar with the idea. Helen scrolled forward. The Dominion discovered something during your medical examination, something that should not exist. Elias' chest tightened. Which is? Compatibility, Sarilith said. Helen met Elias' eyes. Humans can survive Nocthar blood bonding, not as cattle, not as slaves, as equals. Elias swallowed. And that's bad. It is revolutionary, Sarilith replied. Our society is built on hierarchy. Bonding creates obedience, control, but with you there was balance. Helen added quietly, if that knowledge had spread without control, the Dominion would have fractured. Civil war was likely. Other empires would have attacked during the chaos. Elias exhaled slowly. So I was a problem. You were a solution, Sarilith corrected. The tablet showed another file. Elias' own signature appeared at the bottom. You volunteered, Helen said. You agreed to a legal bond, one that redefined Dominion law, but to prevent exploitation, panic, or retaliation, you made a condition. Elias stared at the signature. I erased my memories. Yes, Helen said, Sarilith's voice lowered. You demanded ignorance, true ignorance, so no one could force knowledge from you, not even me. Elias felt a strange ache in his chest. And you agreed? I did, Sarilith said. Though it cost me more than you knew. Helen cleared her throat. The bond changed their people. Feeding practices became regulated. Consent became law. Predation declined. Elias blinked. You're saying I accidentally reformed an entire vampire civilization. You did it on purpose, Sarilith said softly. Outside, flashes of light marked ships maneuvering into position. Tension wrapped the station like a tightening grip. Not everyone is happy, Helen said. Rival factions want the bond destroyed. Some want you dead. Others want to copy you. Elias rubbed his temples. And humans? Helen smiled. Humans voted overwhelmingly. We decided you were worth protecting. Something warm settled in his chest at that. A warning chime sounded. A station officer's voice echoed through the room. Unauthorized fleet movements detected. Dominion hardliners approaching. Sarilith straightened. Her presence shifted, becoming sharper, older, dangerous. They wish to end this, she said, before the bond fully awakens. Elias stood, his legs unsteady but strong enough. What happens if it does? Sarilith looked at him with open honesty. Then you will remember why you chose me, and why the galaxy feared that choice. Elias looked at the stars, at the gathering ships, at the woman who claimed to be his wife. I don't remember saving the galaxy, he said, but it sounds like something a human would do. Sarilith inclined her head. It does. Outside, the first weapons powered up. And humanity, once again, found itself standing calmly in the middle of forces far older and stronger, ready to decide what happened next. The first shot was never fired. That alone surprised the galaxy. Ships from the Nocthar Dominion hardliners moved into attack formation, their dark hulls absorbing starlight. Human diplomatic vessels did not retreat. They did not advance either. They held position, silent and steady, broadcasting open channels instead of weapon locks. Inside Station Kepri, Elias stood near the viewport, watching lights drift like slow storms. He felt something changing inside him, not pain, not fear, pressure like a door being pushed from the other side. Sarilith stood beside him, closer now than before, not touching. Waiting, you feel it, she said. Yes, Elias replied, like I forgot something important and it's tired of being forgotten. That is the bond waking, she said, not forcing, remembering. A tremor passed through the station as shields strengthened. Ambassador Ruiz's voice echoed over the internal channel, calm but firm, speaking to dozens of species at once. Any hostile action will be considered an act of war against Terran space and treaty allies. Stand down. The hardliners did not answer. Instead, another voice cut in, cold, sharp, ancient. Human, it said, you were never meant to exist among us. You are a flaw, Elias frowned. That sounds familiar. Sarilith closed her eyes briefly. High Lord Veilrix, she said. He led the opposition when you first came to us. Elias turned to her. Did I talk to him too? Yes, she said. You asked him why his people were afraid of choice. Elias blinked. A flicker of memory stirred, red eyes in darkness, long halls, the smell of iron and stone. "What did he say?" Elias asked. "He did not answer," Saralith said. "He ordered your execution." The station lights dimmed as power shifted. Somewhere deep inside, systems prepared for impact. Elias took a breath. "So this is the part where everything goes wrong." Saralith looked at him. "No, this is the part where you remember why it didn't." Pain flashed behind Elias' eyes. He staggered, grabbing the edge of a console. Images poured in not as a flood, but as a steady return. A choice made calmly, papers signed. Saralith standing across from him, not as a ruler, but as someone offering honesty. "I didn't want to be worshipped," her past voice echoed in his mind. "I wanted to be chosen." Elias gasped. "I remember. Not everything, not yet, but enough." "You asked for the memory lock," Saralith said softly, "because you knew the bond would make you a target. You wanted humanity protected by your ignorance." Elias laughed weakly. "That sounds like me. Very human. Solve one problem by becoming another." Alarms blared suddenly. A hardliner ship powered weapons. Before anyone could stop it, the human fleet moved. Not forward, not aggressive, they spread. Formation shifted into layered defense, overlapping shields, redirecting power with precision that made alien tacticians pause. Human ships broadcast evacuation corridors to neutral vessels, even enemy ones. High Lord Veilrix hesitated. That hesitation mattered. "Why are they protecting us?" His voice snapped across the channel. Elias stepped forward and activated the station's open broadcast. His voice went out to every ship, every screen. "Because that's what we do," Elias said. "Even when you don't deserve it." Silence followed. "You fear the bond," Elias continued. "You fear choice, but I didn't take power from you. I refused it. I erased myself so your people wouldn't be torn apart by what I represented." Saralith watched him with something close to pride. Veilrix's reply came slower now. "You crippled our certainty." "Yes," Elias said, "because certainty built on fear is just a cage." A weapon discharged, but not at the station. One of Veilrix's own allies fired at a human ship. The humans responded instantly, not with destruction but containment. Tractor fields locked the hostile vessel in place. Precision strikes disabled weapons without breaching hulls. The galaxy watched in disbelief. "They could have destroyed us," an observer whispered over open channels. "They still can," another replied. "They choose not to." Elias felt the bond strengthen, not pulling, not commanding, but aligning. He felt Saralith's presence inside that awareness, not control, partnership. "Do you trust me?" he asked her quietly. "With my existence," she answered. He nodded and spoke again, louder. "High Lord Veilrix, end this or step aside." "You presume much," Veilrix hissed. "I presume humanity," Elias replied. "We survive because we learn, and right now we are learning you are afraid to become better." Long seconds passed. Then slowly Dominion ships powered down their weapons. Veilrix's voice came once more, quieter. "You changed us without ruling us. That is unsettling." "That's freedom," Elias said. "It always is." The station exhaled as tension eased. Systems stabilized. Medical teams moved. Observers whispered. Elias felt the pressure fade into warmth. Saralith finally stepped closer and rested her hand lightly against his arm. The touch was steady, real. "You remembered enough," she said. "Not everything," Elias replied. "But I remember why I trusted you." She inclined her head. "That is enough." Around them, the galaxy adjusted its understanding of power. Not domination, not fear. Choice, restraint, and the quiet strength to walk away from destruction. And once again, humanity stood in the center of it, not as conquerors, but as the reason the war never truly began. The galaxy did not return to normal after that day. It adjusted. Station Kepri became the most watched place in known space. News streams, diplomatic channels, and silent military observers focused on one human and one ancient Nocthar woman standing side by side without fear. The bond between them no longer slept, but it did not burn either. It existed, steady, balanced, and visible to those who knew how to look. Elias felt different, but not changed into something else. He felt more himself than he had in years. He stood in a quiet chamber overlooking the stars, hands resting on the transparent barrier. Human ships still held position, but their weapons were powered down. Dominion vessels drifted farther away, no longer pressing forward. The crisis had ended, yet its consequences were only beginning. Saralith joined him, her presence calm, controlled, and no longer surrounded by the sharp edge of fear she once carried. For the first time since his awakening, she looked lighter. "You chose again," she said. Elias glanced at her. "I didn't feel like I was choosing something new, more like I was finally agreeing with myself." "That is how true choice feels," she replied. Ambassador Ruiz entered soon after, followed by representatives from multiple species. Some were curious, some were cautious. Some were openly afraid. All of them had come because something fundamental had shifted. "The Dominion Council has issued a statement," Ruiz said. "They recognize the bond as permanent, not as an exception, but as a precedent." Murmurs spread through the room. Saralith closed her eyes briefly. "That will fracture old power structures." "Yes," Ruiz said, "but it will also prevent wars." Elias nodded. "Sounds like a fair trade." One of the alien representatives stepped forward, its voice trembling. "If humans can coexist with Nocthar without submission, then what else have we misunderstood?" No one answered immediately. That question echoed far beyond the station. Days passed, then weeks. Elias remained on Kepri by choice. Not because he was trapped, but because his presence mattered. He met with human leaders, alien councils, and even former Dominion hardliners who arrived without weapons and without threats. Some demanded answers, some demanded control. He gave them neither. "You don't need to become us," Elias told one council. "And we don't need to rule you, we just need to stop pretending fear is the same thing as order." Saralith watched these meetings closely. She saw something no Nocthar ruler had ever been allowed to see before, power that did not demand obedience. Within the Dominion, changes followed. Feeding laws evolved into regulated energy exchanges. Bonding became voluntary. Those who refused change left, taking their fleets into the dark where they could no longer pretend they represented the future. The galaxy took notice. One evening, Elias and Saralith stood alone again, stars stretching endlessly before them. This time, he reached for her hand. She accepted it without hesitation. "I remember the rest now," Elias said quietly. She did not speak. She waited. "I remember the moment I agreed," he continued. "Not because I was forced, not because I was afraid, but because you were honest with me." Saralith's grip tightened just slightly. "I offered you truth when my people had only ever offered power. And I chose truth," Elias said. "Then I chose to forget it so no one could use it against you or against humanity." She turned to face him fully. "You gave up yourself." He shook his head. "I trusted myself to come back." Silence settled between them, comfortable and real. A message arrived soon after. A joint declaration, signed by human leadership, the Dominion Council, and multiple neutral systems. The age of forced hierarchy was ending. Not because humanity conquered the galaxy, but because humanity refused to play by its oldest, cruelest rules. Years later, historians would struggle to describe that moment. Some would call it the beginning of a new alliance. Others would call it the quiet collapse of ancient fear, but those who were there knew the truth. It was simply a human choice. On the day Elias and Saralith formally reaffirmed their bond, this time in full awareness, there were no weapons present, no threats. No rituals of dominance, only witnesses. Human, alien, former enemies standing in the same room. Elias spoke last. "I don't stand here as a ruler," he said. "I stand here as proof that survival doesn't require cruelty, that strength doesn't need chains. And that even monsters can choose to be more when someone treats them like people." Saralith placed her hand over his heart, mirroring the gesture he once made in memory long ago. "I was called a terror of the stars," she said, "until a human asked me who I wanted to be." The bond flared gently, visible to sensors and eyes alike, not a symbol of domination but of balance. The galaxy watched, and for the first time in recorded history it did not feel smaller because of humanity. It felt hopeful. Long after station, Kepri returned to quiet trade routes and ordinary traffic. Stories remained. Stories of a human who forgot saving the galaxy and did it again anyway. Stories of a vampire queen who chose restraint because she was shown trust. And stories of a species that never needed to rule the stars to change them. Humanity did not conquer the galaxy. It taught it how to stop being afraid.